My name is Aurora Castillo. I am 31 years old. 5 years ago, I discovered that my husband had secretly piled up $1,400,000 in hidden debt from loans and bad investments, while I spent 9 years helping build his construction company from the ground up. Yesterday in the mediator's office, my husband demanded the family home, the entire business, both vehicles, and every marital asset from our 11 years together, adding that our 12-year-old son could stay with me like it was a kindness. He radiated confidence. He had no idea those assets were actually crushing liabilities, or that I had spent those 5 years preparing quietly. I sat there calm and resolved, ready to give him exactly what he asked for. If you have ever been blindsided by someone you trusted with your whole life, hit that like button and tell me in the comments what you would have done in my place. I still remember the exact moment the mediator slid the thick stack of papers across the polished table. My husband leaned back in his chair, arms crossed, that same smug tilt to his jaw he used when closing big jobs. "It is all mine," he said, voice smooth as fresh concrete. "The house in Evansville, the truck's the company I built with my sweat. You walk with $75,000 cash, and our son, fair is fair." My stomach tightened, but I kept my face blank. 5 years of practicing that blank face in the mirror had paid off. I nodded once slow, like a woman who had already accepted defeat. "Whatever you want," I whispered. The words tasted like ash, but they were the right ones. His lawyer actually smiled a little, like he pitied me. What my husband did not know, what nobody in that room knew except my brother and the family counselor, Dr. Rachel Price, was that I had found the first suspicious transfer 5 years earlier. Late one night, after our son had gone to bed, I had been reconciling the company books like I did every month. One line item did not add up, then another. By dawn, I had traced the massive debts from gambling apps, crypto losses, and a rented condo for a woman whose name I would later learn. I did not scream or confront him. Instead, I drove straight to my brother Tyler's place the next morning. He is a quiet accountant who never liked my husband but never pushed until I showed him the spreadsheets. "You need to protect yourself and our son," he said, voice low. That same week, we met with the family counselor, Dr. Rachel Price, a calm, sharp-eyed woman who specialized in high-conflict divorces. She helped me set up the irrevocable trust, my separate inheritance from my grandparents. $480,000 that had never touched our joint accounts went in there untouched. My old retirement contributions from before I quit my job to help my husband, another $210,000, joined it. The trust was for our son only. My husband's name was nowhere on it. The family counselor looked at me across her desk that first meeting and said, "This is not about revenge. This is about survival." I nodded, but inside I felt the slow burn of something sharper. Survival was the floor. I wanted the ceiling to fall on him. The next weeks turned into a master class in how far my husband could push before something snapped. He started bringing his girlfriend around more openly, like she belonged in the house I had helped pay for, with 9 years of unpaid bookkeeping and client coordination. One Saturday morning, I walked into the kitchen to find her wearing my old apron, blending some green smoothie, while my husband leaned against the counter, laughing. "Morning," he said without looking up. "She is helping with the redecorating. You do not mind, right? After all, you are the one walking away so easily." His voice had that sarcastic edge, the one that always made it sound like a joke, but cut straight to the bone. I felt my jaw tighten, but I kept my expression soft. My mother-in-law, Barbara Castillo, showed up that same afternoon with her usual cloud of perfume and a stack of moving boxes. She started sorting through the living room shelves without asking, pulling out the photo frames I had arranged over the years. My husband watched from the doorway, arms crossed, nodding along. When my mother-in-law held up a picture of our son as a toddler and muttered that some people just were not cut out for this life, my husband jumped in with a sharp laugh that echoed off the walls. "You are right. Aurora always talked a big game about building something together. But look where we are. She is practically handing me the keys." His eyes met mine across the room, daring me to argue. The sarcasm dripped from every word, personal and pointed, like he had been saving these jabs for years. Our son noticed everything. My 12-year-old moved through the house like a shadow. One evening, he found me in the small guest room my husband had assigned me and sat on the edge of the bed. "Dad says you are not fighting for anything because you know you cannot win," he said, voice small. I wanted to tell him the whole truth right then, but the family counselor had warned me to wait until everything was final. It is more complicated than that, sweetheart. I answered instead, pulling him into a hug. But I promise, you are going to be okay no matter what. Inside, I felt the familiar twist of heartbreak, knowing my husband was poisoning the one thing that still mattered to me. My best friend, Amanda Reed, kept texting, playing the supportive role while feeding every detail straight to my husband. I caught her in a lie when she slipped up during a coffee meetup and mentioned the exact amount of cash settlement my husband had offered me in mediation. I had never told her that number. How did you know? I asked, voice steady, even though my hands were shaking under the table. My best friend blinked, then gave that fake concerned smile. Your husband mentioned it. He is worried about you. You have been so distant. The betrayal burned, but I let it fuel me instead of breaking me. Later that night, I deleted her number and blocked her one small boundary in a sea of chaos. My brother Tyler and the family counselor Dr. Rachel Price became my lifeline during those weeks. We met at my brother's apartment 3 times, going over the liability addendum line by line. The family counselor reviewed every clause. This document makes sure he assumes the full $1,400,000 in debt the second he signs the asset transfer, she said one evening, tapping the papers. The second mortgage, the lines of credit, the balloon payments on the trucks, all of it becomes his alone. Your trust for our son stays completely protected. My brother nodded, printing fresh copies. And the business books are airtight. You documented every suspicious transfer 5 years ago. He cannot claim you hid anything because the records show he signed off on them himself. Their support kept me steady when the pressure from my husband ramped up. The small violations kept coming, each one sharper than the last. My husband canceled the joint gym membership we had shared and told me over breakfast, voice laced with mock sympathy. You probably do not need it anyway. New chapter for both of us, right? Then he started leaving printed bank statements on the counter, circled in red, showing the negative balances he still pretended did not exist. See this? He said one night, shoving a paper toward me while his girlfriend scrolled her phone on the couch. The company is thriving under my leadership. You never understood the big picture. That is why this is for the best. His words were vicious, delivered with that cold sarcasm that made my stomach drop every time. He knew exactly how to make me feel small, like I had been the weight holding him back instead of the one who had kept the books balanced for 9 years. Our son started asking harder questions after school one day. He had overheard my husband on the phone bragging about the fresh start coming. Mom, why does Dad keep saying everything is fine when the truck payments are late? My son's eyes were too knowing for his age. I hugged him tight and whispered that we were handling it, but the weight of protecting him while my husband dismantled our life felt crushing. The family counselor had a session with just me the next afternoon. You are doing the hardest part, she said, staying silent while he digs the hole deeper. But remember, this is not about punishing him. It is about making sure our son has a future without the debt dragging him down. The escalation reached a fever pitch 2 days before the final hearing. My husband cornered me in the hallway after our son had gone to his room. His face was inches from mine, voice low and cutting. Sign the last preliminary form tonight. No more stalling. I have waited long enough for my life back, and you are not going to ruin it with some last-minute drama. You owe me that much after everything I carried while you played housewife. The sarcasm was gone, replaced by pure venom that exposed years of resentment he had never said out loud. I felt the words hit like a physical shove, but I kept my voice soft. I will sign whatever you need. He smirked, satisfied, and walked away. Little did he know my lawyer had already prepared the final addendum attaching every debt disclosure to the asset list. That same night, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. It was a screenshot from my husband's phone. The message read, "Final hearing Thursday. She is giving me everything. Celebrate soon." Attached was a photo of him and his girlfriend at the lake cabin toasting with glasses I had bought for our anniversary years ago. My hand shook as I stared at it. The betrayal felt complete, but so did my preparation. I forwarded it to my lawyer and my brother immediately. The pieces were in place. Thursday morning would change everything, and as I lay in bed listening to the house settle around me, I wondered if my husband would finally see the quicksand he had demanded I hand him. The voicemail from my lawyer had me wide awake before the sun even rose over Evansville. I called her back at dawn, voice still thick with the sleep I had not really gotten. What unexpected filing, I asked, gripping the phone like it might slip away. She explained in that crisp, no nonsense tone of hers that my husband's lawyer had tried to slip in a last minute motion to reopen discovery on the asset values. It is a delay tactic, my lawyer said, but the judge denied it outright. Hearing is still on for 9 this morning. Just stay calm and let the documents do the talking. I hung up and sat there in the dim guest room, heart hammering. 5 years of quiet preparation, and now the final hours felt like they might unravel if I breathed wrong. My brother texted me a single line. "You have got this. Our son's future is locked in. The family counselor and I are both ready if you need us after." Their words steadied me enough to get dressed in the same simple navy dress I had worn to every meeting. No jewelry, no makeup that could run. Just the woman everyone expected to fold. By 8:30, I was in the courthouse hallway, the smell of old wood and coffee thick in the air. My husband arrived with his girlfriend on his arm, her perfume clashing with the stale courtroom scent. He looked every bit the confident contractor in his pressed shirt, that same smirk playing on his lips when he spotted me. "Last day of this circus," he said loud enough for the clerk to hear. "You ready to hand over what is rightfully mine?" The sarcasm was back, laced with something sharper now, like he could not wait to watch me sign away the life I had helped build. His girlfriend giggled beside him, scrolling her phone, but my husband's eyes stayed on me, daring me to flinch. My mother-in-law, Barbara Castillo, swept in next, heels clicking, and immediately started whispering to my husband like I was not 3 feet away. "Make sure she does not pull any last-minute tricks," she said. My husband laughed, that short-cutting bark he used when he wanted to put someone in their place. "No chance. Aurora has been handing me everything on a silver platter. Guess 9 years of her playing bookkeeper finally paid off for me." His words hit exactly where they were meant, to reminding me how he had always framed my work as some kind of favor instead of the backbone of his construction company. I kept my face neutral, but inside the resolve burned hotter. The mediator nodded us into the small hearing room where the judge was already seated. The judge, silver-haired and sharp-eyed, scanned the final stack of papers. My lawyer sat beside me, calm as ever. My husband's lawyer looked a little tense on my husband's side, but my husband himself leaned back like he owned the bench. "All right," the judge said. "We are here to finalize the dissolution. Your husband is assuming all marital assets as agreed. You receive the cash settlement and shared custody arrangements for the minor child. Any objections before we sign?" My husband jumped in, first voice smooth. "None from me, Your Honor. I built that company. I deserve to keep it running without interference." He glanced at me, eyes gleaming. Aurora knows she could not handle it anyway. She never had the vision. The jab was personal, delivered with that cold sarcasm that made my chest tighten, but I stayed silent. My lawyer slid the full packet across the table, the liability addendum clipped prominently on top. My husband signed page after page without reading, the way he always had when things moved fast. I signed slowly, deliberately, each stroke feeling like the last brick in a wall I had spent 5 years building. Then my husband's lawyer reached the addendum. His face changed first color, draining as he flipped pages. "We need to talk," he whispered urgently, leaning in. "This lists every debt." My husband waved him off with a sharp laugh that echoed too loud in the quiet room. "Not now. We are almost done here. She is not pulling anything over on me." But his lawyer kept pushing, voice rising just enough for the judge to notice. "The second mortgage, the lines of credit, the balloon payments on the trucks, $1,400,000 total. You are assuming personal liability for all of it." My husband's head snapped up. For a second, he just stared at the papers, then he shoved his chair back with a loud scrape. "What the hell is this?" he demanded, voice cracking into a defensive outburst that made even his girlfriend's head turn outside the glass door. "You hid this from me." "This is a setup." His reaction was pure shock turning to raw anger. Fists clenched on the table, no awkward silence or subject change, just immediate pushback that filled the room. The judge rapped her gavel once sharp. "Sit down. These are the debts tied to the assets you demanded. Your own lawyer advised an audit weeks ago. You declined in writing." His lawyer produced the waiver my husband had signed without reading. My husband stared at his own signature like it had betrayed him, face cycling from rage to something colder. "I want to pull out of this," he snapped, turning to the judge. "She tricked me." The judge's voice stayed even. "You signed voluntarily, represented by counsel. The agreement stands. My husband's outburst died into a stunned quiet as the gavel came down a final time. The marriage was dissolved. I stood, smoothed my dress, and met his eyes one last time. You said you wanted everything except our son, I said softly. I gave you exactly what you asked for. In the hallway, his girlfriend was already backing away, heels clicking fast toward the exit. My mother-in-law tried to follow my husband, but he shook her off, storming toward the parking lot alone. My brother waited outside with the family counselor, both of them quiet but steady. It is over, I told them, voice shaking for the first time all morning. My brother pulled me into a hug. Our son's trust is untouched. That is what matters. The family counselor nodded. You protected what counted. The rest was always going to cost something. The collapse came faster than even I expected. Within 2 weeks, his girlfriend had packed her things and left a note on the kitchen counter that simply read, "This is not the life I signed up for." The house went into foreclosure notices almost immediately after that. The second and third mortgages my husband had taken out years ago. Now his problem alone. The construction company started missing vendor payments. Clients I had once kept happy began calling me directly confused. My husband tried to sell the trucks, but the balloon payments made buyers disappear. By the 1 month mark, he was meeting with bankruptcy attorneys, the man who had bragged about his empire now calculating which tools he could keep from creditors. My mother-in-law called my brother instead of me, voice tight. Tell Aurora I did not know it was this bad. Your husband said everything was fine. My brother relayed the message later, but we both knew it was too late for excuses. My best friend tried one last text, something about how she never meant for things to go this far. I deleted it without answering. Some bridges do not just burn, they collapse under the weight of their own lies. Our son and I moved into a small 2-bedroom apartment near the river 2 months after the hearing. The $75,000 cash settlement covered first and last month's rent, plus basic furniture that did not feel like it belonged to someone else. It was not the house with the backyard he had grown up in, but it was ours. I enrolled in evening business classes at the community college, the kind of step I had put off for 9 years while I helped my husband chase his construction dreams. The family counselor checked in every couple of weeks. You achieved the goal, she reminded me one afternoon. Our son's future is safe, but yes, the cost was real. My husband showed up at the apartment door one rainy evening about 3 months later, looking thinner, eyes hollow. I made mistakes, he said, voice rough. The debt's the way I handled everything. I did not see it coming. He stood there in the hallway, no sarcasm left, just a man who had finally hit the bottom. He had dug for himself. For a second, I almost felt the old pull, the years we had shared. But then I thought of our son sleeping safely in his new room and the trust fund that would pay for his college one day. You asked for everything except our son, I told him quietly. You got exactly what you wanted. I kept the only thing that truly mattered. I closed the door gently. He stood there for a long minute before his footsteps faded down the hall. The partial victory tasted bittersweet on the quiet nights when our son asked why his father's truck was no longer parked in our old driveway, or when I drove past the empty construction yard that used to be our whole world. I had protected our son and reclaimed my own future, but the house, the stability, the illusion of the life we had built together, those were gone forever. Still, every morning I woke up in the small apartment with sage green walls I had painted myself and felt the freedom that came with no longer carrying someone else's debts. I chose myself and our son, even if the path meant walking away with less than I once had. Thank you for listening to my story. It still hurts to tell, but telling it feels like the last piece of weight I needed to set down. If you have ever had to choose between keeping the peace and protecting what really matters, drop a comment below and let me know how you handled it. Your stories remind me I am not alone in this.